Hello everyone and welcome to today's NAA iSeries webinar. I'm Curtis Kitchen, the Director of Publications and Trade Show for the National Auctioneers Association, and I'd like to thank you for joining us for today's newest iSeries installment. iSeries is a free informational webinar series produced by the NAA in order to share auction industry knowledge and insight with NAA members and the general public. We are excited to present today's topic on business planning, but before we do, we want to share more with you about NAA. Headquartered in Overland Park, Kansas, NAA is the world's largest association dedicated to auction professionals and represents the interest of thousands of auction professionals in the United States and across the world. NAA is dedicated to providing educational programming and resources to help members advance themselves professionally. NAA members are an active, thriving, trend-setting group who abide by a strict code of ethics and belong to a worldwide network of peers, buyers, and sellers. The NAA's mission is to provide critical resources to auction professionals that will enhance their skills and successes, and its vision is that NAA members are the preferred auction professional used in the marketplace. Among those resources provided is the iSeries, and today's session will be presented by distinguished auction veteran Sara Bytnar. Sara is a third-generation real estate auctioneer with over 10 years' experience in promotions and marketing. She oversees all marketing efforts and customer relations for Beth Rose Real Estate and Auctions. Sara also completed the Professional Ringman's Institute, Accredited Auctioneer of Real Estate, and Certified Auctioneers Institute designations. In 2012, Sara won the Certified Auctioneers Institute Rose Award for Best Auction Summary. Sara is also a past bid calling champion of Florida and runner-up in 2014 and 2016 International Auctioneer Champion. She also serves on the National Auctioneers Association Promotions Committee and serves as the president-elect for the Florida Auctioneers Association. With that background and a wealth of experience, we are very honored to have her as our iSeries presenter today. Before the presentation begins, please note that you may take part in the conversation. Type and submit your questions at any time during the presentation, and we'll get to as many of them as we can during our brief Q&A period. After that, we will also ask that you take part in a very short 3-question poll as well. With that, Sara, thank you again for joining us today, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Curtis, and thank you to everyone for joining us today to talk about business planning. And although we know it's not always the most exciting topic to talk about, we're really happy that you made the investment, and specifically the time investment, to be here today and talk about how that you can make changes in order to grow your business. So let's get started. So when we think about business planning, and bear with me, this will be exciting, but a lot of times we just want to fall asleep. We know that it's boring. We know that we ought to have a business plan, but you know, how much time do we waste thinking about it and not actually putting it in practice and putting pen to paper? There are a few key parts of the business plan that we know that we should have clearly defined: a mission statement and a vision statement, and we should always, make sure that we're doing a SWOT analysis so that we can establish our strengths, our weaknesses, possible opportunities, and the threats to our business and our industry. So if you do nothing else today, we want you to get out a pen, take 30 minutes, and put pen to paper about a vision statement, a mission statement, and what you see as your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And so if you don't do anything else today, do that, put it away, tuck it away, and then review at least those 3 parts in December at the end of this year. And I promise you'll be shocked at how much your strategies or your priorities have evolved as your business grows throughout the years or you meet new challenges, and those will help shape your company and where you want to see it go in the future. So I've provided a quick, easy template for you to get started today. So I want you to take a screenshot of this template so that you can start your mission statement and your vision statement. And most of us know what the mission should be, what the vision should look like. A mission statement, can sort of be a touchy-feely, why does your company exist? What are you there to provide to your customers? And a vision statement is just that, a vision of where you see your company in the future and what you want to provide to your customers. Your SWOT analysis, of course, you want to go through your strengths, weaknesses, where you see future business opportunities and threats. And these are just 5 bullet points that you should be able to rattle off pretty quickly. So make sure, if nothing else, you get a screenshot of that today, and that's something that you can put into action. You're still in the first quarter of business this year, and I promise when you revisit it at the end of the year, you'll say, wow, how things have changed in just 10 or 11 months. So now let's take a little bit and dig a little deeper and assume that you have a working business plan, or you've just finished your one-page business plan and you're ready to dive in deeper. Or maybe you've hit a plateau in your sales and you're ready to make some changes so that you can grow your business. And I want to give you some tools today that will help you identify where you should be devoting your time and resources so that you can grow and discover new opportunities. And so the first thing that we want to do is establish KPIs. So what are KPIs? What does that mean? It's a key performance indicator. This is a measurable value that demonstrates, what you can do to get to your business objectives. So it's something that you want to make sure is a data-centric perspective, and you want it to pass the SMART test, as we're going to call it today. So is your objective specific? You really want to drill down what's important for your company to exceed. What metrics do you want to measure so that you can get to your goal? And you want to make sure that your KPIs are measurable. Is your goal realistically attainable? You don't want to just pull something out of the sky and say, that's my goal. Because the last thing you want to do is set yourself up for failure. So make sure that your goal is attainable. How relevant is your goal to your organization? Of course, relevant is a word that we talk about a lot in our industry. So make sure that this is relevant to what your company does and where you see it in the future. And of course, the time frame for achieving this goal. Make sure that you put a date on it. And pay attention, not every goal should be an annual goal. Set up your goals quarterly or monthly, and making sure that you can hold yourself accountable and reach your objectives, so at the end of the year, you can really hit the high marks. So we're going to take a look at a sample today, and this is just for illustrative purposes to kind of get your wheels turning. Of course, for these purposes, I did pull numbers out of the sky, but we want you to choose numbers or choose KPIs that are relative to your asset class, your business, and ultimately the goals. So for today, we're going to talk about a KPI would be increase sales to $12 million by December 31st, 2017. So does this pass the SMART test? Is it specific? Yes, it's talking about sales that we want to accomplish, that, that's how our company measures our goals. Is it measurable? Of course, we can measure how much we're doing throughout the year. Is it realistic? That's up to your company, of course. It's certainly relevant, and it has its time defined. So we want to make sure we're holding ourselves accountable by the end of the year to reach, in this case, $12 million. So in this example, once you've passed the SMART test, then you want to break it down further so that you can take this data, look at it next year, and start to make business decisions and investments based on the areas that these decisions will grow your revenue. So what would it be important to know about your sales that will help you move strategically to make better decisions and scale your company? So let's talk about that a little bit more. So wouldn't it be important, if you wanted to grow sales throughout the year, to know what your sales are per quarter? Of course, that's going to be important. And maybe it's even important to know what your sales are per month. And then that way you're not losing time throughout the year just being, quote, busy, and you're actually holding yourself accountable and knowing what you're doing each month. So you're going to know your numbers and you're going to know where you stand. Then look at other segments that are important for your business class or your business asset class. So knowing different segments or categories, in this example that we're going to look at, we're looking at real estate. So let's take a look at some examples. These are, of course, numbers that pulled out of the sky, but they're here to illustrate a point of, what the data can tell you and how it can help you make decisions for your business. So in this one, we've looked at, let's say that you're a real estate auction company and you sell real estate across the board. So you sell low-end investment properties, you sell commercial land, and the occasional luxury real estate. So wouldn't it be helpful to identify those areas of growth where the majority of your business decisions lie so that you can focus on the future? So we want to look at these two tables between 2015 and 2016. And let's look at a few areas that could possibly stick out. So in this case, we're looking at 2015. So sales are showing at $6 million. The number of properties sold are showing a total of 60. And then we break it down by category. And then we look at 2016, where it says 7.6 million, 48 properties sold, and down the line. So what statistics are sort of grabbing out at us? What do we see that's sticking out? Well, it looks like we sold more properties in 2015 than we did in 2016, but it looks like we made more money. The sales were higher in 2016. So what does that tell us? Well, it tells us that we need to look and be a little bit more strategic about what's making us money. So in 2015, these stats are showing that we sold 53 properties under 100,000, but in 2016, we only sold 29. So what does that tell us? We worked really hard on properties and probably put in a lot of time and effort on properties under 100,000, and we actually made less money. So wouldn't it be important for us to focus on properties that are over that threshold, and we wouldn't actually have to work as hard? And so those are some of the things that when you're collecting data, you can make those decisions and ultimately make investments so that you know where you're going and you know where you want to be. Okay. So now let's think about what other data you can collect from buyers to help grow your business. You really want to pay attention to what consumers are demanding in our markets. So are you gaining or losing buyers, perhaps, because of some of your practices? Do some of your practices or terms and conditions make it easier on you or easier on your buyers? And I think that's something that as auctioneers we can be really mindful of. Do our terms and conditions make it easy for people who are buying an online auction? Or, what's the buyer experience for someone from their side? How can you leverage information from sellers to make decisions about how you spend your time and money prospecting? So I know as auctioneers, a lot of times we're really good about asking how a seller heard about us or why they're selling. But are we using that data to actually make investments to grow and scale our business? And what could you do if you had that data and you used it? And what data can you help collect to enable your staff to become more efficient and implement systems to save time? So I know for our company, it's been really important for us to, run the same systems, and we're able to do more business with a smaller staff, and we're able to have a work-life balance and a really good culture in our business, and that's really important for us. And you can do all of these efforts through making sure that you have smart KPIs. So one example that we've had in our company is, going through this process for the past few years is we're discovering new business opportunities. And we're discovering that actual brands, companies, not necessarily sellers, are noticing us for our marketing. So do we see an opportunity where we might be more of an advertising agency or company more than an auction company? So it's interesting, we probably wouldn't be where we are without a business plan. And I can tell you, based on going through these steps ourselves, just from year 2015 to 2016, by following these steps, we did double our sales in conjunction with redoing our branding. So the process does work, and it's amazing how much you can grow and really learn about your company. So let's talk about another area, market disruptors, that I think is super important, and we can learn a lot from big brands that have completely disrupted traditionally steadfast markets. So as consumers, I know that I really love these companies, Amazon, Uber, and Airbnb. So they really transformed the buying process, transportation, and lodging, where it's just easy and seamless. And they really nailed it. And so much so that they're driving out their competition and making them obsolete. So how does that correlate to the auction industry? You know, are we prepared for a big disruptor? You know, who could come in and change everything about how we do business? Is that something that we're considering? And I think one thing to point out is that these disruptors are really focusing on the social aspect of consumerism. So there's something more attractive about purchasing from a person rather than from a corporate brand. And they've really accomplished this by connecting people to people. So do we as auctioneers, that's what we do. That's why people hire us, to connect assets or people who are selling assets to new buyers or new people. So is there an area where we can humanize that a little bit more? And the other factor is convenience. Amazon clearly is nailing convenience. They've completely shifted the level of expectations for buyers. I don't know about you, but I fully expect to get free 2-day shipping with about everything that I order, including groceries now online. So it really begs the question, as auctioneers, are we meeting the consumer's expectations? Are we delivering results fast enough? Are we delivering items fast enough? And so an auction company that can find a way to deliver that is really, really a big game changer. So today, we want you to start. We want you to start today, and that's the big takeaway, is business planning, it's a long-term commitment. You need to start harvesting those ideas, the data, so that you can make good decisions, and you can start developing, analyzing, and tweaking that business plan so that it becomes a living document. So I challenge you to start doing something today. So when you're sitting in a plane or you get off this call, just take 15 minutes and jot some ideas down. Really think about what you offer and what opportunities there are for you and your company. And most importantly, whenever you do get this done, put it away and look at it in December. And you'll be amazed at what you've been able to accomplish when you put it in writing and what you want to be able to do for next year. So with that, we want to take some time, and I'll turn it back over to Curtis. So if anybody has any questions, we can take a few minutes for that.
Sure. Thank you so much, Sara. At this time, as you just mentioned, we'll open the floor to our iSeries attendees who may have questions. If you haven't done so already, you can submit your question, and we'll do our best to get to as many of them as we can here in the next couple of minutes. First question that's in here for Sara is there a common KPI that isn't straight money-based that might be a good place to start for someone?
Yeah, I think, you really have to look at what's important for your business and your brand and what you're trying to measure. So for us, we also look at our website analytics and the traffic that we're driving to our website. And so last year, we really took a look at, how many people are we driving to the website, which has gone up significantly because of marketing changes that we're making. But more importantly, something that we're looking at this year is, more importantly, they're looking at time spent on our website, but now we really want to focus on conversion. So when we're driving people to our website, we want them to see the information, but for us, we're doing real estate live auctions. And so when you look at those, what are you asking people to do when they get to their website? Well, you're asking them to look at the information and come to your auction. But we want to start engaging them online. and we want to get them invested early. So we're looking at strategies to get more people to convert on our website than just driving eyeballs. So that's something that you might want to look at that isn't necessarily sales driven, but it will improve and grow your business and buyers and convert more people.
Sure. Next question in is, let's say your KPI or your smart chart is showing something of concern, maybe even a quarter in or 3/4 of the year in. How soon should someone react to something of concern or something they see might be a concern?
I think as quickly as you possibly can, and that's why setting a KPI for the whole year is great. But if you don't realize the challenges until the end of the year, you've sort of lost time. So we look at everything quarterly, but I really try to do a better job of keeping track monthly, because it really sets you up for, okay, if we're not making our sales or we're having a slow month, what's the reason for that? Is it market conditions, or, in the real estate business, the traditional side is excellent right now. It's booming. And how is that changing the number of auctions we're doing and our success rate with auctions? And so what changes can we make so that we're making sure we're making up for that lost ground? And another area you can track is your closing ratio. We'd love to say that, we sell and close 100% of what we sign up, but if you really look at the data, what changes are you making? Are you signing up everything you possibly can? Or would it be good for your business to actually start saying no and focus on the candidates that are right for your brand and that the sellers that you want to work with? And I think you'll notice that your business will run smoother. You'll start to attract more of the deals that you want. And so that's something to think about.
Next question is, what market disruptors, you mentioned a couple that were outside the industry that may actually have influences inside the auction industry, but are there some disruptors already inside the auction industry that you see in the marketplace?
That's a good question. I know that there are a lot of companies that I admire that I think are doing a really good job, specifically in the online market, but I see a really big opportunity for someone, and in some cases that's a little unnerving, that I do think our industry is primed for disruption, that we need to make sure that while we fully believe and we market properties because it's fast, it's quick, is that the fastest way to buy and sell an asset? And in some cases, we need to be careful that the answer to that is yes. And in some cases, we're finding specific to real estate is that we're not quick enough. How can we speed up the process so that we can have an auction quicker? And I do think with technology and marketing capability that we don't need as much time as we're currently budgeted for. And so, and I think that's one of the things as auctioneers that, when we first started doing online auctions, it was really the auctioneer that needed to be trained that this was a good way to go and that the process still works. And is that the same for speeding up the marketing time? Can we turn an auction in 10 days? I really think the answer is yes. And so once we can start doing that and we're in a market that demands it, why aren't we taking advantage of it? And so I think we should really leverage what we're good at, and that's marketing, and speed up the process and still get the same result.
And final question here, and again, if you submitted a question and we weren't able to get to it today, we'll be able to forward those on to Sara and we can get those answered later. So we thank you for the questions. But final question here in this Q&A session, where might we not be meeting client and buyer expectation at this point? You just mentioned time of service or time of delivery maybe, but are there other areas where we may not be meeting those expectations?
Yeah, I see a huge hole with shipping, and we've talked about this with a few other auction professionals, is that actually I saw on the news this morning Walmart is making a huge investment to try and compete with Amazon and offer free 2-day shipping. And so an auction company that can make that work and find it in their business to offer free 2-day shipping after an auction, that's a big game changer, and I think there's a big path that would work well. And you know, when you see, I know when I think of something or something I need or something I want or something I come across, if I can't have it in 2 days, I'm probably just going to forget about it and move on, or find somewhere that I can get it in 2 days. So if we can speed that up and even speed up, you know, personal property and commercial, you know, retail products online, if we can ship them and get it to the people faster, I really think that buyer experience would be so much better.
Excellent. All right, everyone, like we said, that was the final question for today's Q&A session. We thank you for everyone who submitted questions, and we'll try to get to those again after we complete today's iSeries. We'll get those answers for you and send them back out to you as well. It's now time for you to give us feedback on today's session, so please see the poll on your screen and answer the questions as they appear. We will move fairly quickly through these, so please answer as swiftly as you are able. Your first question of 3, I learned something today I will use in business planning this year. Question again, I learned something today I will use in business planning this year, and if you would select one of those answers, yes, maybe, or no. We'll give you just a few seconds here before moving on to the next question. And we'll go ahead and move on to question number 2. On a scale of 1 to 5, with 5 being the highest score and 1 being the lowest, how would you rate today's iSeries presentation? On a scale of 1 to 5, with 5 being the highest score and 1 being the lowest, how would you rate today's iSeries presentation? Go ahead and please answer that as quickly as you are able. We'll give it just a few seconds. Okay, and then the third and final question in today's poll. I plan to attend the Auction Marketing Summit. It's a pretty easy one. Yes, maybe, or no. I plan to attend the Auction Marketing Summit. And for those of you who are maybe not sure, that's actually going to happen next month in February, and we'll talk about that in detail here coming up in just a minute. But it is in Atlanta, and we're just curious if you're planning on attending. We'll give it just a second or two here and finalize those answers. All right, thank you for taking part in that survey. We really do appreciate the answers and the feedback that you give us in those questions. Before we end today's session, we do have some updated information on upcoming NAA events. The NAA Auction Marketing Summit, as we just talked about, is coming up February 20th and 21st in Atlanta, Georgia. If you learned something here today, you'll definitely want to attend this event as we explore more in-depth topics surrounding auction marketing and some other areas that reference some things that Sara was talking about as well. We'll also hear from several some of the other best auction marketing minds in the industry, so we'll hope you'll join us there. For more information, visit auctioneers.org and check out the education calendar, or you can contact Carrie Boydston via email at kboydston@auctioneers.org. Again, contact Carrie Boydston at kboydston@auctioneers.org. As we close today, you will get a replay of today's session through an emailed link by the end of this week. In addition, if you are an NAA member and you've missed any previous iSeries sessions, or you would like to hear them again, iSeries archives are available at auctioneers.org/NAA-education. Again, that link, auctioneers.org/NAA-education. You do need to be an active member, and you will need to log in to access those. Finally, our next iSeries webinar will be Wednesday, April 5th at 2 p.m. Central, and we'll talk about turning prospects into sellers. Again, that'll be on Wednesday, April 5th at 2 p.m. Central, and that is on turning prospects into sellers. We'll be sending specific information on that webinar again in the near future as well. That's going to wrap it up here today for us. We thank you again for taking part in NAA's iSeries. We hope you have a great rest of your day, and remember that the NAA iSeries exists because it's about you. Have a great afternoon.